situation. But most importantly, the blitz was picked up, and he burns Steve Spagnuolo's defense.
Hurts lines them up. They're looking like they're going for the tush push. Hurts. Calling, still calling. He sneaks, he's pushed, and he's in. Touchdown.
What's good, y'all? Flash Speaks back, man. Listen, I can listen to that stuff all day. That for those who don't know, that's the great Merrill Reese. He does the local calling for the Eagles games. He and Mike Quick, they call it for the local radio station, 94.1 WIP here, and he's a legend in this area. He's been with the Eagles for as long as I can remember, and that's a long time. I go way back, man. And beautiful guy. Hopefully he'll be doing this for many more years to come. And I know Merrill's getting up there, man. But, you know, he's a staple in the community here, man. And one of the most recognizable, distinct voices probably in the whole country. You know, I put him up there, man, with the John Vicentas and the Harry Callises and, you know, all those guys who have those legendary voices, man. My favorite voice right now is probably the guy that does the Chiefs calls. I can't remember his name, but you know he always does Kansas City. You know he does that dude. For those who know, but anyway, I ain't here to talk about that, man. I'm just here to talk about yesterday the parade, the 2024 Eagles Championship parade. Of course, obviously it took place in 2025, but this team forever will be known as the 2024 Eagles because the regular season took place in 2024. Just like the 2017 Eagles, technically the parade took place in 2018, and the Super Bowl was won in 2018, but they're known as the 2017 Eagles. All right. And to put it in a few words, I had a blast at the event. I will touch on what I had heard about some people. There was a shooting that took place and a few people got shot. We'll talk about that. I did not know anything about that until I got home. So either it took place somewhere far away from where I was, because you got to remember the parade takes place over a large span of territory. The parade starts out at Broad and Patterson, which is the area where all three of the major sports stadiums are in Philadelphia. You're talking about deep South Philly, where you have the Phillies, Citizens Bank Park down there. You have the Sixers and Flyers who share the I think they call it the it was called First Union for a while. I think it's still called First Union. And then we have, of course, the Eagles Stadium down there, the Lincoln Financial Field. So the parade starts there, and then it travels all the way up Broad Street. So you're talking about everything was locked off. So you had fans down there to greet the Eagles at the start of the parade. You're talking all the way to Broad Street. Okay, the way Philly is set up. Broad Street is kind of like in the middle. That's why it's literally called Center City. It's like especially old Philadelphia is like literally in the middle. So they went all the way down to Broad Street. And at Broad Street, you go around. It's like a semicircle that you go around. And then you go up what's called the Benjamin Franklin Parkway. You'll notice damn near everything in Philadelphia is named after Benjamin Franklin, who was the first mayor and first gangster, you know, of the city of Philadelphia. He's known as being a great inventor and all these different things. But really, he kind of like ran the city similar to how a gangster runs things, especially back then. So you go up the Benjamin Franklin Parkway. And in the Benjamin Franklin Parkway is a very beautiful area of the city. For those who have ever been to Philadelphia, man, there you have a number of different museums. You have the main library, which was opened back in like 1927 there. Very, very big library. You can find almost anything there. Also along the parkway, are some of our major museums, like the Franklin Institute, which is a great museum that we all go to. At some point, you as a kid, you're going to go there for a class trip, etc. There's the Museum of Natural Sciences there, so on and so forth. Just a very beautiful area, man. One of the it's was built and designed after an area in Paris that's very similar. Because back in those days, and I know I get along with it, I don't give a damn. Like so Philadelphia or America and France had very close relations back then because they mutually had an enemy in England. So that's why France has sent the Statue of Liberty to America. Shortly after the American Revolution, there was the French Revolution. And in that same vein, the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, because Benjamin Franklin was one of the biggest statesmen who had linked with France, right? So linking up with France was a big part of how the United States was able to successfully, revolt against the King of England. So one of the other things they did was they had patterned the Benjamin Franklin Parkway, which is where the parade took place, and while I'm talking about it, after this area in France. But anyway, so as far as the whatever shooting took place, like I said, it wasn't news to me. Where I was, I tried to get as close as I could to the end of the parade, where the parade ends. It ends at the Philadelphia Art Museum, which is one of the most beautiful pieces of architecture in the city. It's old building, beautiful architecture though. In the art museum, you have everything from Picasso paintings to whatever great artists you can think of. They have their paintings there. There's also sculptures from all over the world. There's also like stuff from China, like them old style houses that you see in them old Chinese movies and Japanese movies. There's like examples of those there. You'll see every type of Buddha statue from different places. If you ever come to Philadelphia, one of the places you want to tour is that art museum. And then, of course, on the outside is the famous Rocky statue, which was unveiled and built, of course, for Rocky III, right? Which is something a lot of people visit, especially when they come from outside the city. Me, myself, I've never really went to visit it. It's not like necessarily a big deal for us, but it's a big deal for a lot of people who come. So at any rate, this is the end of the parade ends there. And if you look on at the coverage that was handled on ESPN Channel 6 or whatever way you can watch it, the stage that the Eagles are on when they're speaking and giving a victory speech, it takes place. That's the art museum, where the Rocky steps are and everything else, right? So where I was trying to get as close as I could to the Rocky steps. But the way it is, they say over 1 million people were there. I believe it. If they said it was 2 million, I believe that too. Because when you're trying to, like me, I'm trying to get to the Rocky steps as close as possible because I wanted to kind of see the Eagles when they're speaking. You can only get but so far. I don't know how they got there early. All of the parade starts at 11 o'clock, which means that's the time the Eagles are leaving Broad and Patterson. And it went on scheduled to go on to 2 o'clock, which is when you hear the speeches. But and I got there early. I was there around 10, and I couldn't even get to the museum at all. But the Eagles did a good job because they had big television screens, big movie-sized television screens, kind of all throughout the parkway and all throughout the route to to the Benjamin Franklin Parkway. So basically the idea is, man, get to the closest big screen you can get to, and then pick a spot and watch. And I think for the most part, most people kind of got the idea. Most people did that. So it was a hell of an event. Um, DJ Diamond Cuts, who's a famous local DJ, female DJ. She was just playing music for hours, right? That was the right DJ to get. Eagles, shout out to Howie Roseman, shout out to whoever is in charge of the department that Eagles have that where they set those types of things up. I don't know officially what it's called, but DJ Diamond Cuts was a good selection, and she was playing everything, man, from back in the day stuff that I could relate to. Ain't no stop us now to some DJ Jazzy Jeff Fresh Prince stuff, playing down south stuff, man. Every song you think of, she was playing. So shout out to the Eagles for that. Because man, it was not easy to stand there. It was cold out there. Now, the one thing about the cold is great when you have a million people out there because then you don't really feel it. There's a whole lot of body heat out there. But it's a lot of standing, man. But at the end of by the end of the parade, my feet I couldn't even feel my feet, honestly. Getting out there was cool. Kevin Hart, shout out to him. He had paid the local company that takes care of all the travel, which is SEPTA. They take care of they own the subway system. They own the major bus routes. They own all the bus routes, really. Kevin Hart had paid them some exorbitant amount of money. I don't know how much, but which allowed us to be able to take SEPTA for free, that day. And that was great. Shout out to him for that. So basically I kept the car home because I had no idea how this was going to go, where the hell I would be able to park, how I'd be able to get to it. So I just went ahead, man, took the bus, took the train, and then got downtown, walked up to the parade. And for the most part, shout out to the people who were there. I think most people behaved well. Most people were cordial, had common sense, realized, you ain't gonna be a whole bunch of moving around. But with that, there's always that little 5% of people who were just don't seem to get the memo, don't seem to understand how this works, and they were causing some potential problems. It's really difficult when you have millions of people in a spot. And I'm going to say millions. I believe it was closer to 2, but in one area, you imagine it gets really tight, right? People all up on each other and everything. And, but then you got some people that just want to travel around. They want to try to get through the crowd and get here and there and that. And that was a big time patience test, for a lot of people out there. Me, I was a little bit used to it because I've been in these types of been to concerts. I've actually been. If you ever been to Egypt or places like this, that are, like Cairo is literally a place where you have 20 million people in one area, right? One city. So I'm kind of used to crowds. So I was able to have a little bit more patience than some, but some people, it was getting a little testy out there. So I called a couple situations where it's like might have been a couple of people ready to fight. But the good thing is that most people were peer pressured into not acting that way. So shout out to all of the people who attended for real. Y'all made it happen because it got testy. The testiest part I got to mention was when the Fletcher Street Cowboys came through. All right. Now, if you don't know who the Fletcher Street Cowboys are, one way to find out is they have a movie on Netflix, which is it's a movie, yeah, but it kind of documents these guys and what they do. But what the Fletcher Street Cowboys are is they're a group of brothers who they raise horses and they ride horses. Right, Fletcher Street is a street in North Philly. That's where they used to be. I don't know if they moved somewhere else, but that's what they're known as. But they basically have barns out there where they keep their horses. They raise and clean horses, and I'll say to them, they have been for the most part, I would say, an asset to the city because you got a lot of young kids, man, that are aimless, that may not know what they want to do with their lives, and it keeps them off the street, to join and learn how to raise horses and ride horses and stuff like that. So for the most part, the Fletcher Street Cowboys, I think, are a good thing for the city. However, yesterday, uh, they decided, a number of them decided to come to the parade on horseback. Okay, then on top of that, right? They didn't set it up with the city because, like, I think it would have been best for them to be part of the actual, like, maybe parade, you know, in some sort of way. Because so then that way they would be in the street, which was blocked off to us, and not interfere with the crowd. But what these dudes tried to do was try to go through a damn crowd with millions of people jammed up on these damn horses, right? And they ended up near where I was, and then it got a little testy and got a little ugly. And then what the crazy part was, you had some of these dudes on the horses who brought, you know, their little street attitude to the parade. And this is what I'm saying. Listen, this is the way it is. When you are in a situation where you have 1 million people, 2 million people, in a crowd of people, right? You're not a tough guy. That's just the thing you gotta understand. You not a tough guy. Like, and even if you are, it's irrelevant there. Like, you start some stuff with a crowd like that, no, you will get stumped out. And it just don't matter how tough you think you are. You got to be humble in that situation. But there's a couple of them dudes on them horses were acting like tough guys, and it almost got ugly. One person almost threatened to give a couple threats to beat each other up, and it got crazy, so much so that they had to just kind of leave. They stayed for a little bit, and they had to leave. And that was probably the only incident that I saw that I thought was like, you know, a little nutty, man, for real. And it was really pretty much two of them who just couldn't control themselves. You know, when you're in a situation like that, man, come on, man. You can't be acting like that. That was just nutty. So that's all I'll say. But besides that, man, for the most part, shout out to everybody who came through. I think most people did behave. Like I say, besides that, and then when we got to the speeches, okay, we got to the speeches. This was another little testy little part, okay, because before the Eagles players got to speak, if you notice, the governor of the state of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, spoke first, right? So, and I don't know what it is. I guess it's just part of the way it is in America, how we get down. The governor comes up to speak, and you got some people in the crowd, I guess, who don't agree with his politics, who just started, yelling, profanities and yelling a bunch of just stuff, because they disagree with his politics. And I think that kind of shined a bad light on the crowd as well. Then the mayor got up there, Philadelphia got up there and spoke, Mayor Parker and Sherrell Parker. And, you got people yelling B word and all this kind of stuff. And like that's the stuff I just don't understand. Listen, we all have our politics. We all have our political views and stuff like that. And of course, we tend to, in a democratic society like this, not like those who are of the other party. But come on, man. Like, you make yourself look like a real idiot when you're out there not showing respect for the public officials. Like, I may not like the president, like, at all. I might not like him. But I can't see myself disrespecting him, publicly. Because it's like, at a certain point, okay, you may disagree with him, but he won his election, fair and square, whatever. That's the way we run it. Okay, that person is now, the leader. You gotta, you should show some type of respect, man. Now you could disagree and voice your opinion, but like all that name calling and all of that kind of stuff, man, we shouldn't be carrying ourselves like that. We should be much better than that, man. Some of the some of the behavior of some of the people there in that regard was disgusting. Leave your politics home. We're there for the Philadelphia Eagles. We're there to celebrate. We're there for that. And that part about it, that part I didn't like. And sometimes I wish we would just keep some of that stuff, man. Keep some of that shit home, man. Really. Braden asked, was the parade on TV? Because I didn't see it, and you probably don't know because you went there. No, the parade was on television. NFL Network covered it, I believe. Also, I'd be surprised if ESPN didn't cover it. ESPN typically does. But even if you didn't see it live, you can catch it on YouTube. It was recorded, and the broadcast, would be shown. I don't know how it works though in other parts of the other country, whether or not they typically show the parades. But I thought that every year for whatever team that wins, I thought it was nationally broadcasted. You know what I mean? That's what I thought. I could be wrong about that though. I could be wrong about that. So, at any rate, overall, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great event, man. There was some other problems with the city, though. As far as the traffic, like I said, getting there was great. Like I said, Kevin Hart had paid some great amount of money to allow SEPTA to be free. Shout out to him again, and we thank him for that. But then the city was not prepared to help everyone get home. Right now, me being from Philadelphia, I'm a little bit resourceful. I know how to get around. I know how to get home. But from what I've heard, a lot of people were just stuck in that area pretty much all day. The parade and everything, I would say, was over around 2:30, close to 3 o'clock. And then I've heard that there were people that were still trapped in Center City at 10 o'clock. Which is, how does that happen? That's ridiculous. SEPTA stopped running trains for hours. It was very crowded, and I get it. The problem is, I guess, they're looking at it like, okay, 1-2 million people, you got to move them around. So the subway would get extremely crowded. Even the mayor, prior to yesterday, during the week, they were offering suggestions about everyone don't leave all at once to leave the parade. They wanted people to go into the city and go eat food and stuff like that to allow different waves of people to leave. And I understand that, but that's also part of the idea of wanting to get people to spend money. That's also part of it. He said, my friend told me there were people out there for 24 hours. See, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable, And I feel sorry for people who didn't know their way around the city. All right, so I guess when you're trying to leave, this was the problem. Certain parts were cut off. Certain areas were cut off. You couldn't really travel freely. The subway system, for some reason, opened to get you there, closed off to get you back. And this went on for hours. So my next option, okay, damn. Am I going to walk from downtown, walk Broad Street, all the way through North Philly, all the way uptown, which is where I am? Hell no, I ain't walking. But I ended up walking, if anybody knows the area, I ended up walking to about Cecil B. Moore from South Philly, which, I mean, it ain't the worst walk in the world, but it's annoying. You know what I mean? Because it's a number of miles. And so next option, try to take what? Uber or Lyft. Right? I go to Uber. Uber is talking about $80 for a ride that's normally about $15. Uber was just, and so I'm like, damn, everybody's a damn crook. Then I'm looking at Lyft. Lyft was about the same, $75, $80. A trip that normally be about, let's say, $15, $20 at the most. That's everybody's a crook at this point. It's ridiculous that they're going to take advantage of people like that. I think that's wrong. I think something should be done about that. You know, and look, this ain't no complaint session, but these are some concerns some people had about it. These are issues, of course, surrounding the event, not the event itself. Shout out to the Eagles. Like I said, they did a good job. But there's some things, man, we need to improve in that. Like, and you said 24 hours, that's ridiculous. But at any rate, I managed to get back because I know the city and I know the how to get around. So I was able to catch one of the buses that goes up Broad Street, takes you uptown, and I had I ain't paid though because I didn't have any cash on me. The SEPTA is set up to where you can only pay with this card that you got to get it. And nobody has cash these days, right? So unless you get to an ATM, all the ATMs are damn near empty. As you could imagine, you got a million half people out there. So I just jumped on the back door to SEPTA bus. I'm like, so I was able. I'm from Philly, so I was able to figure that out. I feel sorry for people that just maybe from South Jersey or North Jersey or Delaware or New York or wherever people are from. I know fans were coming from all over the place. And I met people from like crazy places. Arizona came through and saw people from Michigan. It was crazy, right? So, man, that's not cool. But at any rate, man, like I said, overall, it was great. Great feeling. Uh, Great parade. Um, some of the players, like Jalen Hurts, he actually came down off of the float he was on, for lack of a better word. They were on buses or whatever, and he actually walked a good bit of it. He was shaking hands with some of the people at the parade. Jalen Carter, I hear, walked damn near the whole thing. So that was nice because these are two of the biggest stars on the team. Josh Sweat, I think, walked a good bit, and so on. So, good shout out to the Eagles, man. Now to get to the actual speeches that they gave, what y'all can see on TV, on YouTube, it was recorded. Only thing I would say, man, I kind of expected a little bit more from the speeches, man. This group of Eagles, the only thing I can say is I guess they're much classy, if that's the word you want to use. I mean, are they humble or classy? Classier than the 2017. 2017, I love the speeches more. Especially, of course, Jason Kelce. When Kelce went up there and just went off on everything and everybody, whether he was talking about defending Carson Wentz, defending Nick Foles, defending Howie Roseman, defending the owner, defending just everything. Jason Kelce went in. The Hungry Dogs Run Faster speech and all of that. And it could be that we don't have anyone presently on the team with that ability, that oratorial ability. Maybe that could be it. Maybe these guys are just really humble. I don't know. But the one, Jalen Hurts, as you all know, Jalen Hurts had the opportunity to go in on everybody. And really, I wish I would have had the opportunity to go up there and speak on his behalf or someone like that, man. Or really, what they should have done, they should have let Gilly the kid, speak on behalf of Jalen Hurts. That's what they should have done. Because Gilly would have put it the way Philadelphia fans would have understood it. Because he don't give a damn. He gonna use whatever language he gonna use. You already know how Gilly talk, right? He was there, of course, up there. Damn, I wish they'd have let him talk, man. Because he would have put it the way it needs to be put. Jalen Hurts had an opportunity, man, to go in on all these people who, since the time he's been drafted, who doubted him, who believed that he could never lead a team, to the Super Bowl, who thought, said everything from this dude can't throw the ball, he can't read defenses, that he can't everything. They act like he's just the worst quarterback they've ever seen. And he had an opportunity to go out there and go in on him. But, you know, he chose the high road, man. And I commend him for that. I commend him for that. It just couldn't be me. I'd have went the hell in on everybody and everything. Believe that. You know what I mean? A.J. Brown went in a little bit, but it wasn't extensive. He said enough. I probably liked A.J. Brown probably made me laugh the most. Besides when they introduced the exciting whites, what they called them. That was funny, though, when they did that, because when Dave Spadaro said that, right? And exciting whites, for those who don't know, is a name that Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship chose for themselves. It isn't like someone else called them that or whatever. They themselves came up with the name exciting whites for themselves. Now, what was funny was when Dave Spadaro said that, he said, you know, the exciting whites, there was a number of people in the crowd that were like, what? You know, like they were like offended by that. And right then I know you ain't really been following this team all year. You just here because it's a damn parade and a party. It was a lot of y'all there just for that. You saw y'all just want to show up at every party. But the other stuff, there was weed everywhere. Everywhere, man. People had weed and beer, as you could imagine. Right? And a lot of them people just there just for that stuff, man. Like, but if you ain't never heard of the term the exciting whites for Reed and for Cooper DeJean, you ain't really been following the team. You know, it's not something that anyone was offended by ever all year. It actually was funny. You know, people who understood, they were cracking up. It's just you know, it's a rarity to have really good white players play defensive back. It's just rare. You know, it's not like a knock or anything. It's funny. You know, those are two exceptional players. In my opinion, especially Coop. You know, and Coop is right now becoming one of the most famous players. He's probably going to go out like Jason Kelce. You know, really just super iconic player. You know, and it's because he's quiet. He's no nonsense about his work, and he is a rarity. Let's be for real. When was the last starting cornerback? You know, like him. It's probably you had to go back to Jason Sehorn. That's going back into the 90s. You know, so Cooper's special, man. Without a doubt. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed their part of the speech. Jordan Mailata's, of course. But I kind of expected Mailata to go in a little more, man. I did. I expected Mailata to go in a little more because Mailata can talk. He can speak, you know. And he's had some of my favorite moments at the mic this year. You know, like, for example, when they asked Jordan Mailata about Jalen Hurts and why people are not putting him in the top 10 or top 5 quarterbacks and all of that stuff, which is ridiculous at this point. People were doing that. Jordan went up there in his Australian accent and said, you know, with all due respect, I don't give a fuck about anyone who believes this. And I know that was a horrible imitation of his voice, but that joint had me rolling, man. That joint had me rolling. So I kind of expected Jordan Mailata to go in. He didn't. Landon Dickerson, I thought he would go in a little bit. He didn't. So only thing I can say about this team, I guess they class acts, man. I mean, classy guys. That's the only thing I can put it. Because if I was up there, I would not be classy at all. You know what I'm saying? Jared says, watching this Super Bowl game with Mahomes give me 2011 LeBron James vibe. Nah, man. Nah, I wouldn't say that because I think Mahomes was in a situation where he was just overwhelmed. You know what I mean? What could he? I don't know any quarterback that could have survived, under those circumstances. I think it was just way too much pressure. And whereas with LeBron, I mean, what we say that Dallas team were, great. Was it a great defensive team like that? I don't know. I think Mahomes just ran into a defense that he was unprepared for, and his coach didn't help him. But forget LeBron. Yeah, so that was pretty good. The speeches and all of that, man. And it was overall I had a good time. And like I said, whatever shooting took place, I had no idea. I really didn't. Um, that's sad. And I also got to look into it. I don't know if it was when the parade was technically over or what. The only thing I saw was I did see someone pass out there because there was a lot of standing. That happened. And paramedics having to come through, which was a pain in the ass because they were trying to get a cart through to pick the person up and take them off, and hopefully prayers out to them. Hopefully they're okay. Whoever passed out, I did see that. Um, and like I said, I mentioned earlier on that there was a couple of little altercations back and forth, people talking because people got their political views. Some people like the mayor, some people don't. Some people like the governor, some people don't. Bullshit like that, man. I think you gotta keep that stuff at home. Your politics. I don't care how you feel about the mayor of Philadelphia, but just show some damn respect in a public setting like that. Booing the mayor. All that stuff is corny. Booing the governor. Like, listen, all right, you didn't vote for that person. Okay, you know what I mean? But still respect the office of the governor. You know what I mean? Like I told you, I don't like the president, but I wouldn't disrespect him in a public setting like that. Now, you at a certain point, you got to have some kind of like decency about you. Like carry yourself with dignity, Philly or wherever you're from. It's like, come on, man. That stuff I didn't like, but like I said, as far as what the Eagles did, that was good. That was good. Um, Now, just slightly briefly, after the parade is done, now we're going to be faced with some challenges. We're going to face with some challenges, man. And I'm going to briefly speak on it, just what I wish happens. And that is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles have a number of free agents that are, in my opinion, instrumental to the success of this team. The first being Zach Bond, the middle linebacker of the team right now, who made an all-pro team, who in my opinion was the best middle linebacker in the league. Because Warner from San Francisco had a little bit of a down year. And who else? So Zach Bond, with Milton Williams, who I believe is in his fourth year. Drafted him before Jalen Carter and before Jordan Davis. So he's up for contract. I don't know if he's restricted or unrestricted, but he's a free agent at the end of the year. We also have I heard Dallas Goedert too. Whew. That's a concern. Dallas Goedert, I believe, can go into free agency. We have Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton, who was our right guard this year, who was outstanding. And I think there's one more that I'm missing. Mekhi Becton. Who is the other free agent that I'm missing? I can't think about it. I can't think of here. But at any rate, okay. Zach Bond, I think, without a doubt, Howie Roseman has to do whatever it takes to keep Zach Bond. And I'm mentioning him first because I think not only is he the most important, but I think he is the one that we have the biggest chance of losing. I heard Jeff Saturday on Get Up the other day talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and he was saying if he was in charge of the Dallas Cowboys, one thing he would do is he would go after both Zach Bond and Milton Williams as a means to hurt the Philadelphia Eagles and to improve the Cowboys. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen because Jerry isn't that smart. He hasn't shown to be that smart. But if something like that was to happen, I'm thinking how disastrous it would be. And And even if Dallas didn't do it, you know who I think would? I think the Commanders would do something like that. Because the Commanders obviously need help on the defensive line. I could definitely see them going after someone like a Milton Williams, you know, who knows our offense and all of that kind of stuff. I don't see Cowboys getting Bond. They're more likely to get. Why would they go after Nick Bolton instead of Zach Bond? Why would Dallas do that? When you got one guy that's 6'3" and all pro and longer wingspan, and Nick Bolton is low undersized. Why would they do that? And then you could argue Nick Bolton would be more expensive because he's has more years. But if you look at the two, I don't think Nick Bolton is better than Zach Bond. Why would Dallas? And then if you're the Cowboys, why would you grab somebody on Kansas City where you could take someone from the Eagles? Just saying, why would you do that? But I hope you're right. I hope they would go after Nick Bolton instead of Zach Bond. It's because Philadelphia isn't letting Bond go to Dallas in the same division. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that that's the case. And I say this because I'm going based off Howie Roseman's behavior towards the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman's behavior towards middle linebacker. The Philadelphia Eagles, like, they have a certain way that they value, with the exception of Saquon Barkley. The Philadelphia Eagles typically, the front office, they value positions when they should value player. What I mean by that is they have this idea where we're only going to pay X amount of dollars for, say, a middle linebacker, whereas I'll pay this amount of dollars for a defensive end. And let's say, I'm just making up numbers here. Let's say the Philadelphia Eagles, when it comes to middle linebacker, they say we're willing to pay $10 million, like max. That's just what it is. Whereas, say, defensive end, we're willing to pay up to $20 million. Okay. If someone comes for your middle linebacker, okay, and offers him $12 million, the Philadelphia Eagles literally might not pay that 12. Okay. And I always thought this was one of the weaknesses in the front office. Front office has a few weaknesses compared to, say, other teams, but this is one of them, because I believe that a team shouldn't pay position. You should pay player. Okay. So while a defensive end in your ideology, in your method, in your ideology, whatever, may be more valuable than a middle linebacker. But what if the middle linebacker is Ray Lewis and the defensive end is Josh Sweat? You see what I mean? Would you give Josh Sweat that type of money? Or and when it's Ray Lewis, what do? Do you reevaluate? All right. So my thing is, forget the position. That player is more valuable than that player, and I think that's been one of the mistakes Howie Roseman has made. If Dallas comes and say offers Zach Bond a certain amount that Howie considers too much for a middle linebacker, I think there's a serious chance we will lose him. I think we will lose him. And I've seen this happen with Jeremiah Trotter, for example, back in 2002 with Jeremiah Trotter, and I think it was Joe Banner at the time. So maybe Howie's a little different from him, but it's still a guy that's under Jeffrey Lurie. Okay, so. And they all kind of talk to each other when it comes to these things, when they negotiate this stuff. It's rarely just Howie. It's kind of Howie and Jeff kind of talking it over, and then he'll okay it and so on. Then Howie makes the move. So what happened with Jeremiah Trotter? Jeremiah Trotter was actually all pro in 01, 02, 02. And they went to the negotiating table, and Jeremiah Trotter was looking at it like, look, I need money like Urlacher and like Ray Lewis, which is insane. Like, you shouldn't have been asking for that. But the Eagles just flat out like, no, they don't pay that for middle linebacker. And he ended up leaving and going to Washington, which is a rival. So Zach Bond could actually end up the similar way, in my opinion. Now, what had me worried is Zach Bond. I'm hearing him and his agent has already said that they want to go test free agency. So that right there, but this is what Zach Bond should think about, right? He should scrutinize. I guess it all depends if he's just about trying to get the big paycheck or if he's trying to win. It all depends on the type of guy he is. What Zach Bond has to consider: what's the likelihood of going to an organization, whoever they are, where you'll get to play behind a talent like Jalen Carter and a Jordan Davis? How many places can you do that? And this is similar to the same thing with T.J. Edwards. Remember, T.J. Edwards in 2022 was our middle linebacker. And he was decent middle linebacker. He decides to go to the Bears, though I think the Eagles didn't really make a whole lot of effort to keep him. We went and drafted Nakobe Dean and all of that, so that could be what happened with him. But he ended up going to Chicago. And dude, I know you got that money from Chicago, but as you see, the grass ain't always greener somewhere else. So I think he has to consider that. If Zach Bond ends up going to Dallas, you're playing behind Mozzie Smith. Are you going to be as effective? I mean, good, you're playing with Micah Parsons and DeMarion Overshown, if he ever can come back or anything like that. That could be two good guys to play behind, but the middle linebacker benefits best when he has great defensive tackles in front of him, who are just taking care of those blockers that you had to get off. That's part of why Bond is as effective as he is. Jalen Carter's taking up two damn blockers all the time. Jordan Davis sometimes is taking up two. So that allows him free reign to just go crazy. If he stays with the Eagles, he will have a Hall of Fame career. There's no doubt about it playing behind those two guys. Now, does he think about that, or is he thinking about, hey, man, I just want to get the most money? So if Bond is thinking about just getting the most money, then I think there's a good chance we'll lose him, unfortunately. You see, Howie Roseman has a bit of petty in him in a good way. He might pay him just to keep him out of Dallas. I wish he would think that way, but I don't think he does. I think he thinks we'll beat Dallas anyway, even they did have Bond. That's what I think he thinks. And then we also have Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and then you have Nakobe Dean coming back, which makes me kind of nervous because the thing I liked about Bond and Nakobe Dean was they were two completely different types of linebackers. Bond is the guy you want because he really has pass rusher skills because that's what he was. He has the length, he has the speed, he has all of those things you want because in today's NFL, you need a middle linebacker that's not so much, especially in Fangio's system. You don't necessarily need your middle linebacker to be a downhill guy. Your middle linebacker is to be a side-to-side guy, And as you even saw, how many times this year has, quarterback tried to test that middle of the field? And, Zach Bond is there to knock something down, to steal the ball constantly. I hope Howie Roseman understands how vital this guy is to this defense. I really hope he understands that, man. And I hope Vic Fangio explains that to him clearly. Because if you just think you're going to find someone else to replace him like that, I don't feel good about that situation. He may feel like he could just throw Trotter Jr. in there. And I love him, his dad, all of that, but I don't see it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He tries to secure his money. Now he get money, but would you need the most ever and all of that? Then he probably won't be here because the Eagles, you got Jalen Carter's contract coming up, you got Jordan Davis' contract coming up, you got man, you got a little bit of time with that secondary once their contracts come up. Goodness gracious! Now we also got some money that's going to come off the books too as well. We got that damn James Bradbury contract and that damn Bryce Huff contract. Those are the two contracts that Howie has to somehow find a way to either move or something. Those are very problematic because I believe Bradbury is one more year. Huff, he has multiple years. That's problematic. But assuming he figures that out, you got to keep Zach Bond. Got to. Milton Williams, another guy I'm afraid may end up leaving. However, one thing, I'll say a few things. All right. One thing, Howie may keep him because of how much he values defensive tackle. Okay. But then I'm hearing the Eagles might like him over Jordan Davis. If that's the case, then there's a good chance he might find a way to do something with Jordan Davis. May move him. I don't know. I'm hearing different things about the Myles Garrett situation. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I'm hearing one possibility is the Browns may be willing to take Jordan Davis, a number one for Myles Garrett. Now, if you do that, then you don't have to worry so much about the Jordan Davis thing, and then maybe you're freed up to sign Milton Williams. That is something I would do, definitely, and then I'm not as worried, okay? But if you don't get Myles Garrett, and, Josh Sweat is the other guy too. Josh Sweat, I like him, but I think he's replaceable. I'm not that much worried about Josh Sweat. Got Nolan Smith that'll probably take that spot, who I think has way more potential than Josh Sweat. Well, Brandon Graham is going to leave, so the Eagles will probably be signing another defensive end, either out the draft or whatever. Now, the other thing with Milton Williams is he's in a position where Howie may view him as replaceable because this draft coming up is supposedly really, really deep in defensive tackle. And if that is the case, I can see Howie Roseman moving on from Milton Williams. And that's my thing. If you're going to move on from Milton Williams, you definitely need to sign Zach Bond. Bobby Murphy, what's up, bro? He says also Bond was only paid $1.6 million a season and well overperform. He very well should be compensated. Yeah, he should be compensated. I agree with that. Absolutely. I'm just looking at the behavior of the front office over the last 20 some odd years when it comes to certain positions. The Philadelphia Eagles is very clear. The thing they value on defense is defensively. They value defensive tackle over every position in defense, which is smart because the defensive tackle has the shortest distance to the quarterback. Middle pressure. So that's why the defensive tackle has always gotten the biggest contract in the Eagles defense. You can go back to Fletcher Cox. You go back to Corey Simon. They always valued that. And it's not a bad way to build a defense. If you look at the greatest defense of all time, which is the 1970s Steelers defense, the first player the Pittsburgh Steelers ever took to start their whole dynasty, that defense, was a man by the name of Mean Joe Green, who, what's amazing about Mean Joe Green is if you look at him and Aaron Donald, they're almost exactly the same size, wingspan, and everything else. It's just an amazing thing. I look at past stuff like that, but so it's not a bad way to build a defense. The Philadelphia Eagles, in a lot of ways, have always mimicked the Pittsburgh Steelers in some of their ways that they build. Even in the way that we take linebackers in the third round and stuff like that. That's Steelers stuff, So because of that, depending on how they view Milton Williams, they might just pay him instead of a Bond. Me personally, I believe you keep Zach Bond, but I got this fear that they're following teams like Pittsburgh, who will let linebackers go, and also the Patriots, who will let linebackers like that go. Bill Belichick quickly, he'll let those type of guys go, and I do fear that's the thinking, that they're very stoic and archaic in that type of thinking. But I personally think Zach Bond is a special player, and that there's no way this defense continues at the high level that it has without him. I can't see it. Because if you look at last season, a big part of why the Eagles had one of the worst defenses in the league, besides the fact that, we had a horrible defensive coordinator, as well as the team was just a bunch of punks who wouldn't tackle, the middle of the field was always just a problem. You didn't have anybody in the middle of the field guarding it properly. When you look at this season, in the middle of the field, you added one of the smartest players on the team, which is Nakobe Dean. You added Zach Bond, and you added Cooper DeJean. You had those three athletes in the middle of the field. That shit became a no-fly zone, right? And I think you got to keep that. Exactly. And I don't know how. We need to somehow little Bryce up. Yeah, I was just talking about that. I don't know how. The best way to help unload Bryce Huff was for, Huff to allow Huff to play and show some flashes of brilliance or at least competency, and then you can argue to another team. This was a horrible move by Howie Roseman. And obviously he paid him that, not because of how good he was. He paid him that because he plays defensive end. That's the problem. Like, Howie will give a defensive end that type of money. He'll give a cornerback that type of money, but he won't give a linebacker that type of money, which is not right. You should pay people based on not their position, but their effectiveness and how great they are at their position. So you should pay a great middle linebacker more than you pay a mediocre defensive end. And Bryce Huff isn't even mediocre. He's mediocre at best, which means he's closer to just trash, honestly. So that's a problem. Then I believe Dallas Goedert is another guy. Unless you're going to go into the draft, and now if you can get Penn State's middle linebacker, Penn State's tight end or somebody like that, then you're good. But that guy's going to go probably early. And unless you targeted another tight end somewhere, I think you got to pay Dallas Goedert. And I don't know how much he'll demand. When I really deal with the all season more thoroughly and I have all the numbers in front of me, I'll talk a little bit more in detail about it. But I think you got to keep him. Now the other guy, Mekhi Becton, I think it's unlikely. I think it's unlikely he returns if Mekhi Becton is expecting Landon Dickerson type of contract. I think the Philadelphia Eagles feel like they can replace him. But I fear all these guys. Really, I do. I fear Zach Bond in some way could be gone. I feel Milton Williams in some ways could be gone. Becton and Dallas. And yep. And Bobby, I agree. We need to change our philosophy a little when it comes to an impact. Yeah. You should pay based on how good the player is or how great the player is, not based on the position. That's, there's, it's good to have certain principles. It's good to have a certain philosophy, but you should always understand that there's outliers. You should always understand that there are exceptions to every rule, and that, and these are mistakes are made. We made the mistake with Jeremiah Trotter, end up bringing him back, I just hope we learn from past errors and mistakes. Um, how he has, and the only time I've seen him go away from what he likes to do in this regard is with Saquon Barkley. For years, the Eagles wouldn't pay a running back, significant amounts of money. Running backs be on the low end. But when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley, that is a game changer. You can't follow that type of philosophy. You got to go after him because you have to sign him and pay him because he's that impactful. He's more impactful than your wide receivers are, you know. Um, and that's just that. That's just that. So we're going to see, man. This is going to be an interesting off season. I can't wait to really dive into it and talk about it, and also start looking into this draft. It gets a little bit more difficult trying to target who you're going to get in the draft when you're picking. It's a good problem to have, but when you're picking 32nd, I guess we'll be picking. Who knows? It's like grab, I guess, the best guy that's left over after everyone else. But I'm ready to just start talking about that stuff, man, soon. So that's what we will do. But right now, I got a lot of research to do. I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to the draft, especially guys that'll be picked towards the end of the first round yet, because this season that was so captivating that the only time I really look at the draft a lot during the season is when I know we're not going to go to the playoffs. Excuse me, and I'm thinking about needs. So I'm not the most prepared to talk about that today. So Goddard's under contract but he needs a restructure. He misses too many games and drafts another tight end. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Yeah, I heard somewhere that he might be a free agent, but if he's under contract, then that helps. Yeah. Or maybe they won't do anything. I don't know. As far as missing too many games, I mean, yeah, that's true. But it's just they're freak accidents to me. It's just crazy. Like one dude breaks his arm, because he stiff armed him. The other time, I mean, with Washington Commanders, remember that time he damn near ripped his head off? Like, I mean, I can't blame him. I mean, it's unfortunate, but he missed games because of that. And last year, I don't think it was anything major. What was it, like hamstrings and little soft tissue stuff? But I know what you mean. Goddard does tend to miss games. That's true. Oh, man. But that's pretty much what I got today, guys. Like I said, it was at the parade. It was a good event. Besides a couple minor little nonsense here and there, but for the most part, it was good. Congratulations once again to the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out to all those who attended. Shout out to Kevin Hart, who made it possible for people to jump on the sub for free. And yeah, I'll see you guys, man. See you fellas next time, man. Please like, share, subscribe, and we out. Go Birds.